So welcome to the next episode of the Gunman Insta Live. We have a special guest on today, Seamus.
It's a bit cloudy, mate. I'm sorry.
It's a bit cloudy.
I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
Give the screen a wipe.
I've done that. I had a filter thing on it, and we've taken that off, and it's kind of better than what it was.
You look even better now, Seamus. You look even better now.
I look better like that, mate. You know what I mean?
I've seen some filters in my time, but that one is special.
I don't know what's happening.
So welcome to the Gunman Insta Live. Today I've got an absolute special guest, referee, pro referee, Seamus Dunn, and we're going to get crack-a-lacking straight into this one. Been excited about this all week, Seamus.
Great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait. So, so obviously I've set up this platform. It's a platform to give fight fans an insight into the real fight game. So we're going to be interviewing referees like yourself, pro fighters, white collar fighters, amateurs, promoters, authors. The list goes on. So thank you for coming on and sharing your experience with us. And I can't wait to get stuck straight into this one. So if you can let the viewers know. So how many fights have you refereed?
I think you checked my boxing record. Is it 307 pro fights? Was it? I think
309, my
friend.
Nine.
Was it 309? Wow. And then I haven't counted my dark side fights, but I'd probably say about 10,000. Yeah, so that's probably it. Yeah, it's about 10,300 in total, something like that.
10,000 fights. I mean, that's where you get the time.
Exactly. Yeah, my wife asks me that question all the time.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. But anyone who has boxed, mainly in London, you've probably refereed one of their fights.
I dare say, yeah, that's right, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first question is, why is boxing the only sport where you do not know the score while the match is going on? In football, in cricket, in rugby, you can look up at the TV and you can see, oh, that team's winning 2-1, and you can see who's winning, and the team that's losing knows what they need to do to win. But in boxing, we don't have that. Why is that?
I think logistically, it's very difficult. You've got 3 ringside scoring judges, okay? The way it works is you score your card. In a world title fight, they'll come round. The referee, he'll take the slip off each judge, and then he'll hand it to the official in charge, and then it's his job then to collate that onto a master scorecard. So honestly, that minute goes so quick, it would just be logistically too difficult to provide an accurate score for the viewer or the person in attendance at the venue. But I do know, and I think if you know your boxing, I think in the Commonwealth Games or the amateurs, they did trial it. They used to have a thing called, they had 5 judges in the amateurs, and if 3 of them pressed the button at the same time, that generated a point. And then on the side of the ring, it toted up the amount of points. So you could actually see as you went along who was winning. So when the bell went for the end of the round, all the cornerman would need to do is just look back and take a look up in the air and see what the score was for his boxer. But the audience knew, plus the viewers on TV knew. So that concept, it has been done.
Yeah. It has been done, it has been done, but it's mainly letting the coaches know, though, isn't it? And the fighters, not letting the fans.
Well, no, it lets everyone know, doesn't it? It lets the spectators in the arena and anyone watching on TV to keep the track of the fight as it's going along. So by the time you come to the final bell, you knew exactly who won that contest.
Yeah. So what level was that? Sorry, I don't know.
That was Olympics and Commonwealth Games for the amateurs.
Yeah.
And could you translate that to the pros? Possibly, but then you'd need to revert then to that scoring system where you've got 3 out of the 5 judges pressing that button at the same time, and then electronically it would go to a system. So I mean, for that to work, A, it's probably quite expensive, and B, I have heard scenarios where it's actually broken down. So then they had to revert to the previous way of doing it, you know, where you keep your scorecard and then you hand it in at the end.
Yeah.
But I can see your point, but don't you think that waiting for the result at the end adds to the mystique of it?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but I think as a fighter, I'd love to know if I'm losing or if I'm down, and I just think it's a great way of ending all robberies. No more robberies, you know. I've been robbed before, as most people have fought at sort of you know, amateur level. It's quite common, and so I just think putting the scores up means that you can't. It will alleviate the robberies altogether. Thoughts on that?
I think you're always going to have some element of bias somewhere down the line. You know, when I mean bias, I don't mean, you know, I just like this guy and that's it. But a judge may have a bias towards a certain kind of style over another style, and then he may want to see more punches landed by the person whose style he favours over the other one. So it wouldn't matter whether they're declaring the scores, you know, at the midway point of any contest, because they're always going to do it. So, you know, it's such a I can't think of the word for it, but everyone's got their view and their opinion. Are you ever going to eliminate deliberate bias and robberies? Probably not. No. No.
But putting the scorecards up after each round, 100% wouldn't it?
I think it would, but like I said, you've got a minute to do that. It's impossible unless you've got that automated judging system that I've told you about, where they press the button and then electronically it manoeuvres a result. But we're all going into AI now, aren't we? So that might end up doing it for us. But
I mean, in the lower level boxing, the referee scores the fight, so logistically pretty easy. In an amateur fight or lower, you know, white collar fights where the ref scores it, put your scorecard up.
I mean, when I'm reffing these white collars, okay, I keep it in there, you know. I mean, I could run over to the MC and say, right, it's a 10-9 round for red or a 10-9 round for blue, and then leave it up to the crowd to, you know. But I think there's that touch of X factor about it. Wait until the end, because when I saw it on the amateurs, and then it came to the end of the contest when it had gone the distance, I was even a little bit disappointed because I'd known in advance who'd won the fight. You know what I mean? I say don't change it. And what would Michael Buffer do? He'll be out of business. He'll be out of business.
Yeah. So what is your definition, Seamus, of a robbery?
Where you blatantly win the contest and it goes the other way. If you have a close fight, and it could have gone either way, I probably wouldn't consider that a robbery. I'll give you an example. I've seen fights in the pros where a boxer's won all the rounds and he didn't get the verdict. That's a robbery, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think if you're at the wrong end of a majority decision, as disappointing as what it is, that's not a robbery. It's a pain in the arse, but it's not a robbery.
Was the Fury Ngannou fight, was it a robbery?
It was, and I'll explain why. I listened to the first 2 rounds on Talk Sport, and then I realised on Facebook someone had viewed it, and there's 157 people viewing it on Facebook. So I viewed into it from about the 4th round onwards, and from what I saw, I'd missed the knockdown, so you could definitely say that's an Ngannou 10-8 round. And I think from the 4th round to the 10th, I can only see Ngannou winning 2 of the rounds tops. So, because what Fury was doing was he was definitely not in a good way, but he was moving around and he was popping the jab out. It wasn't the same ramrod jab he was using against Wilder the first time he boxed him, but he was flicking that jab and he was picking up points. And I'm not blaming Ngannou, he was probably knackered. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, he probably was. So, you know, I mean, you're asking a man to come off UFC and do a 10 freeze fight. I mean, that's like an impossibility to a certain degree. But no, I don't think it was a robbery. No.
So who do you think won that fight, in your opinion?
I think Fury won it. Yeah. Unconvincingly, but I thought he won it.
And well, the punch stats certainly say he did.
Yeah.
I mean, and we would come on to the punch stats because, you know, me and you could fight tomorrow and, you know, I could jab you for 20 times and you could hit me once and knock me down and you win the round 10-8. But yeah, we basically saw in the Fury and Ngannou fight, Fury outpunched him in the punch stats. But yeah, to the naked eye, and it looked like the damage was being done by Ngannou. The knockdown was with Ngannou, and he was doing more damage. So it is very subjective, isn't it, I suppose?
Absolutely. But if you watch that fight again, there are long periods of each round from the fourth round onwards when Ngannou hardly threw a punch. But you'll see Fury moving around, circling, popping out the jab. Not as often as what he was doing against Wilder, but he was still scoring, and you can't ignore that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you felt Fury won unconvincingly?
Unconvincingly, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think. I mean, at the time, I wasn't scoring the fight, but it felt to me that Ngannou won only because he had a knockdown scored. It was a 10-round fight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it would have meant that Fury would have had to have won about 7 of the remaining rounds with the knockdown, 7-8 of the remaining rounds, and it just didn't feel like he did to me. But when I saw the punch stats, I was quietly surprised.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I definitely thought that he put up a good show, but I just thought this lazy jab that Fury kept throwing when Ngannou was throwing nothing, were picking up points. And Ngannou had a very good 8th round. He battered Fury, in fact. But the 9th and the 10th, Fury just went back to type and he moved around the ring, popping out that jab. And it was probably the last 2 rounds that won it for him. Yeah. I think it was anyone's fight after the 8th round.
Yeah. So, have you seen any blatant dives in boxing in your time? And when I say blatant dives, I'm talking about acca busters. You know, this guy has blown the accumulators for the weekend. You've seen someone take a fall.
In any kind of code, you mean?
In any kind.
Amateur.
In any
the white collar game, definitely. Yeah. We know what goes on.
Yeah. What?
I've seen. Yeah.
Can you tell us what you've seen?
In
the past.
Well, I did one show. I'll just use this example. It's a fairly big show, by the way, and it was somebody's mate. I can't name any names, obviously, but someone sort of fairly high up in the promotion, if you like. It was their mate fighting, and they roped someone in from, I don't know, someone on the south coast, and I was told after about a round and a half he was gonna pull one, and my God, he did pull one. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
yeah.
It's theatrics at the best.
So you were told in advance that was going to happen?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Only frequently, and the only reason being it was so that the guy ended up, finishing his career on a win. And I don't think he knew about it. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, he caught him with a good left hook, but the way the guy went to ground was phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, does it happen in professional boxing? I wouldn't say blatantly, but I know a lot of pro fighters. There was one pro fighter. He was a proper journeyman, but he was tough, you know. And he said he had a fight in Northern Ireland, in Belfast. So he went out there, and it was their version of the O2 Arena, and I know where it is because I've been there. And he said to get to the ring, you had to come outside of the arena, and then we'll go back in. He said it was quite strange. And as he went outside, he said he could hear a bomb going off right in the time of the troubles, like, you know. And he went in there, and he said, he said, I just didn't feel comfortable whatsoever. So it come about the second round. He said, this bloke, I was giving away quite a bit of weight. He said, well, I thought, you know, I'm just going to take a shot and go down and take me 8 count, me 10 count, and be done with it. And he did. So,
wow. So
I think it was just.
You seen a bit of that then, you know, just people just getting hit soft and just rolling over.
Yeah, not dramatically, but I've seen it sort of fairly infrequently. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you first start refereeing? Was it, how many years have you been doing it?
Yeah. God, I got my license with the board in about the end of 1997.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a lot of time. Yeah. That would explain the 10,000 fights then. So in the time that you've been involved in it, match fixing. Yeah. So obviously boxing's a very difficult, very easy sport, so I should say, to match fix. There's only 2 participants. It's very easy to match fix a boxing match. Much easier than a rugby match, for example, or
football or whatever. Yeah.
And back in the days, you didn't have number of corners and betting on, you know, number of fouls and things like that. So it was a lot harder to rig. In your time, can you just tell us about some of the match fixing, the blatant match fixing that you've seen in boxing?
In any code, you mean?
In any code, any match fixing.
I've never seen anything in the amateurs. Not saying that's never happened in the amateurs. I was in the amateurs for about 15 years. I've got to be careful here because professional boxing, probably a bit, I wouldn't say fixing, but I've got to be careful here. But you'll go to a pro show, right? The only 50-50 fight, or we'll call it the 60-40 fight, will be the main event, okay? It might even be 70-30, okay? Hopefully it's 50-50, but it could be 60-40. But anything else on the undercard is roughly going to be 80-20 in favour of the home fighter. Yeah. And to be honest, if you're this is what sickens me about it. If you're an up-and-coming pro fighter, okay, you're out there, or you're training hard, obviously, and then you're selling loads of tickets, but you know you're going to knock someone out early doors, or you're going to stop someone. You're not going to get a competitive, uplifting, educational contest. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't call that match fixing, blatant match fixing, but it goes on.
Yeah, what mismatches.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at some of the records of some of these pro fighters. You know, they've won 15, they've lost 152, and they've had 5 draws, and they're boxing next week. Or you look on BoxRec, and they've got 5 fights lined up, and you know full well that they are hoping to be points losers on all 5 of those contests. Because if they get stopped in any of those contests, right, that's 30 days banned straight away.
Right.
So, you know, if they get badly knocked out, it's 3 months out, and you're losing your income. So, you know, the white collar game, if you like, is a bit different. You'll get fighters coming up from different areas, and I can think of a few. They're fairly capable, but they're coming in to lose, and they're getting stopped or knocked out, and then the medics are telling you you've got 28 days, you can't get in the ring, and then I've gone to another venue the week after, and they've turned up. You know, and I know, and then they get stopped there, and then I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen next week? Where are you going to be? You know what I mean? I mean, that's a bit like the Wild West, and I'm not comfortable with that, because you're talking about someone, you know, someone could get hurt.
Yeah, it's unsafe now, and with sport, you've got the you've got the protocol of 2 weeks. So if you take a head trauma, You've got a protocol where you know, with most sports in rugby and football, concussion protocol, 2 weeks. If you take another trauma to the head within 2 weeks, they say that's really, really dangerous for you. So that's why they've got that protocol now in place. But yeah, you see guys that get knocked out and they're fighting again 2 days later. See it in the gym, see it on low-level shows. I'm pretty sure it will happen all through boxing and through all the codes. Premature stoppages is something that I'm really keen to discuss with you. So, premature stoppage. What's your definition of a premature stoppage?
It's where you stop a contest, someone isn't instantly dazed, or they've still got their kind of faculties intact. They're not blowing hard. They've probably got a bit more gas in the tank that they can carry on. I think. I mean, I did one once when I was in the pros. It was, I can't tell the fighters, but it was live on Sky. I jumped in. I was looking at the guy. Both of them were good fighters, but one was an up-and-coming prospect, and the other one he'd fought for a world title, but he kind of then went into a journeyman phase. So he was a name on the other guy's record, and he was getting worked over in the first round, and I could just see his eyes, you know, from the angle I was looking at. I thought this guy's going to get hurt, so I jumped in and I waved it off. He went absolutely ballistic. I was quite sensitive in them days, so I went home and I watched it, and I heard Barry McGuigan saying it was an early stoppage, and Ian Dark said it was an early stoppage, and I was thinking, oh, I don't believe this. But then they always then came back with the phrase better early than late. So, yeah. And then ironically they had a rematch, and the same thing happened. He got stopped in the first round, and that particular fighter now has got a degenerating Parkinson's condition at the moment.
Oh, really?
So, exactly. So, in hindsight, I've done the bloke a favour, I reckon. But there you go. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what are you looking for when you're seeing someone hurt? What are you looking for? You're seeing someone hurt. You don't want to stop the fight too early. What are the signs that you're looking for to go, right, I need to wave this off?
I've been a fighter, obviously myself helps. You know when someone's hurt, facially, they're in distress. Okay. But most people get stopped through fatigue more than anything. So you know what fatigue is. Someone's blowing hard. If they can't keep their hands up, they're taking shots unnecessarily. You know, that to me is a danger sign. But the thing is, in our game, the white collar game, on the amateurs, you can stop the contest and give a standing 8 count. I genuinely believe in standing 8 counts. They're a good thing. They allow you to take a look at a boxer. You know, check that he's responsive, and then give him another chance to go on. And then you can reassess the position after that 8 count. But the pros, you haven't got that luxury. If someone's in trouble, they're always going to be in trouble because there's no standing 8 count. And in that game, you can get really badly hurt.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a tough call. It can be a life or death call, in fairness.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's a big responsibility for you. You've got to jump in at the right time. If you jump in too early to stop a fight, then the heat is on you. If you jump in too late, like you said, it's better early than late. And you jump in too late, then someone's getting badly hurt. So it's fine margins, really. It's fine margins. And is it something that you've kind of had to learn with experience?
Oh, you've hit the nail on the head. I remember once, it was my birthday. I'd done a show at York Hall. I was a pro ref at the time. And this guy, he was boxing a 6 rounder. Oh, yeah, I won't forget it. And he got battered for 4 rounds. And in the 5th round, he was getting battered. He got put down. I looked at him. He looked like that. He looked gone. I'd done the 8 count. He got up. Are you all right? And I ushered him to me. And I don't know why I went like that, box on. And the guy who put him down went up, walked over to fight the other bloke. He went like that to me. I went, no. And I stopped it. I jumped in and I waved it off. And my God, I got one hell of a bollocking. I got a bollocking from both his trainer and the trainers of the victor, who were both at me. I was only a novice referee at the time. But when I got out, the then son, well, a very high up important person, the boxing board, came up to me, had a chat with me and said, you did absolutely the right thing there. Don't be ashamed of what you've done. You re-reviewed the situation after the count and you called it. Yeah, I would have preferred you called it when you'd done the count, but it doesn't matter. What you did was the right and correct thing. And I couldn't sleep for about a day and a half after that, because I thought, imagine if he'd have walked over him with a big right hand, that guy could have been dead.
Yeah, unbelievable. So that, yeah, oh wow, that, you know, that leads me on quite nicely to my next question, actually. So what's the worst reaction that you've had to either a bad decision from yourself or an early stoppage? Had any chairs thrown at you?
No, I had one situation once where it was in South East London. I might have seen you around there. You know what I mean? Like, what had happened, this is white collar. The bell went, the guy came out, he was the house fighter, he had all his mates there, he was fighting. I don't know who this bloke was. They squared up, they both moved forwards to each other, and it was nothing, and he dropped down on his knees. I thought, what's going on here? So I said, get up. I wiped his gloves, looked up, I said, box on. I thought they just got entangled and he fell down. So the same thing happened again. He fell down on his knees. He got up and he said, I don't want to carry on. And we're talking about 20, 30 seconds into the contest. So I said to him, you what? So I gave him an opportunity to say, no, I want to box on. He said, I don't want to know. I'm not interested. So I did this. I had to wave it off because, he'd obviously waved the white flag of surrender. So what could I do? But the guy that won it took extreme umbrage at what I did, couldn't work out what was going on. He was a bit of a hothead anyway, ran round the ring, screaming and shouting, and then he whacked me with a massive right hand.
Wow.
And I mean a big right hand, do you know what I mean? Like that. But the only thing that I was most pleased about is it was a bit like the movies, like when someone hits someone with a punch and they do that and then they look like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that. And he hit me with a shot when I wasn't even expecting it, you know what I mean? But I don't think he was angry and frustrated. I don't think he realised the circumstances surrounding it. But that guy had basically bottled it and said, I don't want to know. And there was nothing I could do about it. I had to.
And that guy won the fight.
He won the fight. Yeah, that's right. Imagine if he'd lost it. Yeah, that's right. But that's the worst reaction. I mean, in terms of, once I did a fight. I think I gave a house fight decision over the supposed loser. But the trainer went running around the ring and he shouted all kinds of obscenities at me for about 10 minutes. I've had that, and then what's his name? The famous trainer, the Irish guy, Brendan Ingle. I don't know if you remember Brendan Ingle. He used to train Nassim Hamid.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He had. I mean, not only did he have a stable of champions, he also had one or two, we'll call them journeymen for example. He had one fighter who came in and he got basically buzzed in the first round, and no word of a lie, the guy loaded up on him and his head was bobbing around like that. The guy was just teeing off. He must have hit him with about 10 shots. So I jumped in, I did that. Basically, I think I saved the guy's marbles. Brendan Ingle just wouldn't leave it. He had a go at me in the ring. He ran outside. He had a go at me at ringside. He came back later and had a go at me. He kept at me. And in the end, I think someone had a word with him, and he obviously had to think about the situation, and he asked if he could apologise to me.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's right. I mean, and there's fairly, I mean, in the program, there's fairly high margins. Because if you've got a fighter who's the house fighter, and it's a close decision, and you give it the other way, you've got to expect some kind of ear bashing from the promoters.
So can you explain why is that? Why does the home fighter have an advantage?
Well, I think what a promoter's doing is he's mapping out this guy's career. He's thinking 3 or 4 fights ahead of the actual fight on the night. And you, unfortunately, the law of averages will always say that the house fighter will always come into the ring one night and he won't be switched on. His head will be somewhere else. He'll have a bad night at the office, a bit like Fury against Ngannou, and then he'll meet a journeyman who'll have the best fight of his life.
Yeah.
And then if it gets close, and I've seen it so many times, right, where it's gone to points at the end, and you can tell that the referee has thought, well, hold on, I've got to give this to the promoter's fighter. It's gone that way. But I've done it a couple of times where I've given it the other way, and I've received a complete verbal dressing down over it. But I stand by my decision.
Have you ever been asked to fix fights?
Yes.
Have you ever fixed any fights?
No. I had a phone call about one. It wasn't that long ago, funny enough. The guy that called me, we're talking a couple of big names here, so I've got to be very careful. A couple of really big names in boxing. Yeah. And I said no.
That's okay. We don't name names or promotions on this show.
Of course, so, yeah. So I said no. Like they said, well, even if the round's close, can't you just give it the advantage? One, I said no. I said it's against my principles, so I'm not interested. You know, I mean, for all I know, they could have been taping that at the end, other end of the call. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But,
wow, that's unbelievable. What's the biggest fight that you've refereed, in your opinion?
The biggest fight. Still good.
You got to go back through the 10,000 archive here.
Yeah, I think in the pros when I refereed Alexander, funny enough. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. He was on Sky Sports, wasn't he? He was refereeing on Sky.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the reason being is I kept reading about Wayne in the boxing press. I've known about Wayne for years through his exploits in the amateurs. He was knocking everyone out, and even in the pros. I remember once buying the Boxing News, and there's some bloke sprawled out in the canvas like that, right, and then there's a picture of Wayne standing above him, like, and I read it thinking, who is this bloke? You know what I mean, like. And we got to the show. I think Wayne was the European champion, or I don't know what he'd done. He was having a fight in between his defences.
Yeah.
And they said, right, you're doing that. It's an 8-rounder against Howard Clark, I think it was. I said, you got me to do that. And I was thinking to myself, this bloke's like, he's close to a proper world title shot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, he's probably the biggest puncher in British boxing. Jesus, do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And I must admit, I got really nervous. Yeah. But when I look back on that contest, that's probably one of my best pro contests I've ever refereed.
And
especially
best venue? Best
the O2.
The O2.
The O2. The packed O2.
Yeah.
When I refereed Dodgy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Who was he fighting?
I don't know what it was, because he'd lost back 3 on the bounce, and this was his first ever win.
Yeah.
And he got in the ring, and when I got to the arena, obviously it was empty. Okay, and I wasn't thinking much about it, but by the time 45 minutes had elapsed, okay, before the start of the show, the whole place was packed. I've never been in the main O2. It's massive, and it goes up to the gods, doesn't it? And it was, I'm telling you, it was rammed solid. And when I got in to do Dodgy's fight, and he got in the ring, the roar of the crowd, it near enough, like, you know, lifted me off my feet.
Yeah.
It was quite intimidating. But yeah, to me, that's the best venue I've ever refereed at.
Yeah, amazing experience to have. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
So what qualifications do you need to be a referee? If I want to be a referee tomorrow, what do I need to do?
If you want to go the pro route, it's going to be quite tough. They're going to look at any previous box. You don't necessarily have to have a boxing background, but what they're more interested in is your kind of knowledge on the rules. You need to know the rule book. So what they do, they don't test you on the rule book straight away. If they like you, they'd like to know you've got a boxing background. They will then invite you. It's a bit of a long process. You go around to all these different shows. You've got to pay your own way, by the way, and you're given a scorecard.
Got to slip that bit in.
Yeah, yeah, you have to pay your way, and then you have to mark your scorecard just like the referee would. Okay, and then you hand your slip in after each show. So you'll judge all the fights. You'll see them. You'll sit ringside. You'll view it, and then you'll judge it. If they then like you, so they will assess the scorecards. I then went for a meeting, and I went there. I'll never forget it. When the board was in London, all the main referees meet in January and July. So it would have been July, I think. And I went down there, and there must have been about 50 people in this smoke panelled room, like a proper boardroom. Okay, and they're all round the table, and I'm there, and they're all asking questions. What would you do if this happened? What would you do if that happened? Bang, 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 bang. And I was quite good. I was like a tennis player. But bang, bang, bang. And then they said, right, go upstairs, and then we'll call you back in. And as I went to go up the stairs, they went, stop. He said, we're going to have you as a trialist referee. So that's when the fun started. So there was 3 of us. And then that's it. You know, the moment you step in the ring, you're on your own. It's a bit like a boxing contest, like you're fighting for the first time. All manner of things could go desperately wrong for you. You've got all the powers of a referee, but the proper referee will score outside. You can disqualify someone, stop the fight, knock them out, retire them, the whole shooting match, cut eyes, anything that could go wrong could go wrong. And my first ever fight was live on Eurosport. I mean, how about that for no pressure? And even worse, one of the guys I had to referee, I trained in approaching with him for 2 years. So it was, but
unbelievable. A couple of supporter questions on the white collar unlicensed circuit. Have you seen anybody that you think, oh wow, this guy should be pro?
Yeah.
Go on in. Spill the beans. Who, other than me, of course. Who would you like to see? Who would you like to see turn pro?
I think there's a guy I think who could be a good pro who's on DKM at the moment. I can't remember his name.
Small guy.
He won the other night. He beat Marcus.
Dean.
What's his name? Full name?
Dean Amusiami.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's got it.
Yeah.
I think he's got it. I think he's got a pro style already.
Interesting.
And I think the other lad, Trevor Len, I think he's got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Kane Corbin's got it as well.
Yeah.
I definitely think those 3 especially have got it. I've just got something about them.
Interesting.
How successful they be, I don't know. I mean, but sometimes I'd like to see how they slot in with the amateurs. But I think they've got something about them that I think would they'd be able to harness their skills in the professional game.
Brilliant.
If they want it.
Yeah, and all 3 I put in my pound for pound DKM plus.
Is that right?
10. Yeah, all 3 I had in there. I only didn't have Dean higher than he was because he'd only just won his belt. But I highly rate him, and I'm really enjoying watching his journey, to be honest with you.
I mean, to be honest, I'm looking at him thinking he must have boxed before somewhere. You can't learn them skills. He's either a complete, absolute natural who can throw those shots. I don't know. He's just got something about him, or he's learned it before, and he's really honed his skills through a lot of repetition. I don't know. Obviously,
he's improved. I've seen early fights where I saw a fight he lost actually, where he just got dragged into a war, as young kids do. You get hit and you want to come back away. and it was a little bit like that to start off with. And you know, I for one told him and said, look, I'd love to see you just settle down into your boxing, and you've got something special there. Got another question here quickly. Do some judges change their score for previous rounds based on the latter rounds?
Hopefully they don't. No. I mean, I don't. I mean, what's done is done on that round. I kind of erase it from my mind, and then I'll move on to the next one. I don't really question other judges on what they do or don't do, but it's not something I'm keen to replicate, if I'm honest.
So what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to show you a controversial moment in a big fight in the UK. Sorry, it wasn't in the UK. I think it was in Poland. It was the Dubois-Usyk fight. A huge moment in this fight, and a very controversial moment where everyone who knows or watched it saw Dubois land this shot on Usyk, and there was a debate for weeks on whether this is a legitimate blow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see it.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see this.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
I can do, yeah.
All right, lovely. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play this just in full speed. Is that enough? Do you want to see it again?
Yeah, see it again.
All right, I'm going to run it through. Okay.
Sorry.
This is it quick. You can't see it so well, but in slow-mo.
Yeah, if I saw that when I was in there, in that moment in time, I'd have classed that as a low blow, I think.
Yeah. So can you just explain what the rules of a low blow is? Because what some people are saying that it isn't. Is it on the belt line? Is it below the navel? What is the rules on the low blow?
To me, it seems to be below the belt line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think part of that shot was below the belt line. I think it probably hit. Yeah, to me, if I was in there and I was positioned where that guy was, when you've got a southpaw and an orthodox, you've got to be positioned a certain way. I can't explain it. You can't be on the outside of them, you've got to be on the inside. And that camera is on the inside of them. I'm not sure where the referee was positioned, but I think he was positioned where he should have been. And I think he scored that correctly, if I'm honest. Yeah. I probably think 99 referees out of 100 would have done the same thing, but it went time out, neutral corner, and then giving Usyk 5 minutes to recover.
Yeah. So one thing, finally, one thing a lot of people don't know about you is that you have had 100 amateur fights or over. Yeah. Is that correct?
Exactly 100 I had. Yeah.
100. Was it in your mind, right? 100 and I'm out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. To be honest, I was never going to be a champion. I was never going to turn pro. I thought if I'm going to do something, which when you reach the end of your boxing career, you want to have I don't know, attained something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, something is your legacy, and my legacy is 100 fights.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And it might have been 101 if I'd lost the 100th, but I didn't. I won the 100th. Yeah. And that was it. But the irony is, I was boxing the best I ever was at the time, and I was a bit of a late developer in terms of man's strength, and I was knocking people over at that point. I was 26 and I packed up. I probably could have went on if I'm honest, but
I mean, that's amazing that you had 100 fights, Seamus. A lot of people don't know that you've had 100 fights, and a lot of people don't know that you won almost 60 of them. So you know, fair play. I mean, that's just absolutely brilliant. And when I sort of found that out, I was shocked, but at the same time, I was full of respect and pride for you, because that's an amazing achievement. One of the supporters is asking, what name did you box as an amateur? Did you have a fight name?
No, the amateurs, you just Seamus Dunn. I mean, if I'd have turned pro, I'd have. There was a boxer called, his name is Colin Dunn, and he was a really good fighter. I boxed him on my 99th fight. He turned pro and was known as Colin Dynamite Dunn. So I wouldn't have been able to use that, you know.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
What about Seamus Double Barrel Dunn? That could work quite nice. You've got to have something scary. I mean, at the end of the day, look, I got the nickname the Gunman, right?
Yeah.
I live in Surrey. You know, you've got more chance of seeing a gun. You know, like you won't see a gun at Shotfield Library. You know what I mean? When you're getting on the 127 and going to Beddington Park. But it was the irony of it, and I used to quite like being introduced to the ring from the mean streets of Wallington, the Gunman. You know, and it was a little bit of a satire in the end. You know, it was
Yeah.
You know, something that I just laughed at. You know, and found it quite funny. You know,
no
violence in there whatsoever.
No, but when you came in the ring, when I refereed you just the once, I was quite intimidated by it, if I'm honest. Do you know what I mean? I thought the way you came in to the music and the way you were attired, you know what I mean? Like, I thought, you know, I found it quite imposing. But
yeah.
You know.
I mean, we talk a lot about being psychological warfare in boxing. You know, you see some guys come on with balaclavas on, and you know, you know, what's the most intimidating entrance that you can remember?
Ooh. I think the most flamboyant one was when a guy wanted, like what Eubank used to do, get on the top rope and then leap over it. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, that was probably wasn't even that intimidating. No. Do you know what I mean?
But you must have seen people come out on, like, you know, like with masks on and, like, you know, one eye pointing that way and one eye pointing that way, just being wheeled in like Hannibal Lecter, you know.
or wearing like an armory suit, like Wilder, you know what I mean. Like, I was always too nervous when I was going in the ring for any of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see these fighters, they get in there and they're giving it the big one, even before the bell starts. And I was never like that. I just used to face my corner, and I was just sort of shed a boxing and go exact. So I was so nervous, but you know, we're all different.
So but, I'm gonna wrap up with my last question, because obviously I thank you very much for your time that you've taken to jump on my chat show and give the guys an insight. And this video will be uploaded on YouTube, and I'll edit it and get it up and get it out there. So it's really great that you've taken time to give, you know, fight fans the insight into the real game. Do you prefer fighting or refereeing?
I've refereed for so long now that I've almost forgotten what fighting's about. I still think I can fight. That's the problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've missed it for when I stopped, retired, if you like. I thought, you know, and then I was refereeing. I still thought I had a few years left in me. I think you can always fight someone, but I'd never be able to get the weight off now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part.
But, especially as the age starts ticking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would have been a cleverer boxer, a more insightful boxer. Yeah. I would have been an absolute frigging nightmare, because I was, when I adopted a style where I was difficult to hit, it was a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? I used to really rate Harold Graham, his style, you know, like this, the Brendan Ingle lean. I didn't lean back with my hands down, but I knew how to slip a shot and move away. And I think I would have done a lot more of that than stand up and have a straight fight with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Well, there's loads of really positive comments coming in at the bottom. Seamus is one real nice guy from Gene, Cinderella Man. Gene knows.
He's an older opponent. He was a very good boxer. Yeah. He was like
all right.
Brilliant opponent.
Yeah, he's saying all right, Seamus. And loads of well wishes in the comments. But listen, thank you very much for your time. I'm conscious of it going on too long.
Yeah, please,
And I really appreciate you coming on the Gunman Insta Live. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. If anyone is watching, please follow our channel. It's free to follow us. We're going to be bringing more insights and more interviews from referees, like I said, promoters, pro and amateur boxers. We're going to really be giving you guys good interviews and a good insight into the real fight game. So thank you very much, Seamus. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see you again at the next show.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I'll
February.
be at the next CKM show in February. We've got some cracking fights lined up on our shows next year, with Will All Night Long and Kai Forder being announced today. And I, for one, can't wait to be there ringside, and I'll be there with you. So, yeah, can't wait. Big things ahead.
All right, mate. Team DKM, mate.
Yeah, lovely. Take care.
All the best, mate.
All the best.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
See you then. Bye.